Unfortunately for the Ukrainian General Staff and its NATO military advisors, the Ukrainian Army and NATO forces met the first days of spring with major defeats in almost all key directions of the front. Over the past week, war correspondents and representatives of the Russian Defense Ministry reported the liberation of 5 strategically important settlements and the destruction of 2,300 Ukrainian soldiers and officers, as well as so-called mercenaries, many of whom are active duty soldiers and officers of NATO allied countries. By the way, a few hours ago, the head of the investigative committee of the Russian Federation, Alexander BORZZIKMAN, provided the public with fresh information about the activities of so-called foreign mercenaries in Ukraine and the KURSK region. In particular, on March 8, at 11 a.m. Moscow time, he officially announced that as of March 2025, foreign mercenaries from 72 countries are fighting in the ranks of the Ukrainian army. At the same time, he acknowledged that among these so-called soldiers of fortune, there are also active duty soldiers and officers of NATO allied countries. At the moment, we know for sure that 3,400 mercenaries from 72 countries are fighting on the side of the Ukrainian army. Over the past 3 years, the number of Polish mercenaries has decreased significantly. After heavy losses in manpower and the Ukrainian army's retreat in key directions of the front, Polish citizens almost completely refused to join the ranks of the Ukrainian troops. As of March 2025, Canadian citizens rank first regarding the number of mercenaries in the Ukrainian army. At the moment, 720 Canadian citizens are fighting on the side of the Ukrainian army. Britain ranks second. As of March 2025, 695 citizens of Foggy Albion are fighting in the ranks of the Ukrainian army. And finally, Georgia takes the third place. It is reliably known that 713 Georgian citizens are fighting in the ranks of the Ukrainian army. At the same time, we managed to establish the identity of 2,000 mercenaries, Alexander BORZZIKMAN said. Furthermore, the head of the investigative committee of the Russian Federation remarked that, after the hostilities conclude, Moscow will arrest not only all surviving foreign mercenaries, but also all Western journalists who illegally crossed the border into the Russian Federation and reported from the KURSK region, praising the actions of the occupying Ukrainian army. By the way, this occupying Ukrainian army, together with the NATO forces, found itself in a deplorable situation in the KURSK region. As it turned out, over the past 24 hours, Russian troops have managed not only to break through the Ukrainian army's defenses in the Kirillovka area, but also to enter the city of Sudzha. So, a few hours ago, practically all reputable Russian war correspondents reported that Russian units of groups of troops under the designation Sever managed to reach the Ukrainian armies back in the city of Sudzha. Numerous Ukrainian telegram channels also confirmed this information. According to them, Russian troops managed to enter the city using the same tactics as in Avdiivka in February 2024. In particular, several groups of Russian Spetsnaz infiltrated the city of Sudzha under the cover of night, using an underground gas pipe, and launched an attack on Ukrainian troops from behind. It is reported that Ukrainian soldiers and foreign mercenaries were shocked to see Russian Spetsnaz in Sudzha. The attack by the Russian Spetsnaz turned out to be so unexpected and lightning fast that within 10 minutes the Ukrainian army lost all its strongholds on the eastern outskirts of the city. As a result, the main Russian army units managed to enter Sudzha from 2 directions at once. From the southeast and northeast. Fierce fighting is currently underway in the eastern part of the city. Simultaneously with this, the Russian army also intensified its attack on the city of Sudzha from the northwest direction. This happened after Russian troops simultaneously liberated 3 settlements within 24 hours: Staraya Sorokina, Nikolaevka, and Viktorovka. Furthermore, on the morning of March 8, war correspondents reported that Russian troops managed to break through the Ukrainian army's defenses in Malaya Lakhnya and enter the western part of the settlement. The distance from Malaya Lakhnya to Sudzha is only 14 kilometers. Thus, the semicircle around Sudzha is rapidly narrowing. The situation of the Ukrainian grouping in the KURSK region has become catastrophic. About 10,000 Ukrainian soldiers, including representatives of the armies of NATO allied countries, are at risk of being surrounded. Currently, before our eyes, a cauldron is forming in the KURSK region, in which large forces of the Ukrainian Army and NATO forces will be finally destroyed. Commenting on the situation in the KURSK region, even Ukrainian military experts were forced to acknowledge that Volodymyr Zelensky's Kursk adventure is over. At the same time, they expressed doubt that the Ukrainian troops could somehow fix the situation. According to them, the Ukrainian soldiers have only two options: to surrender and save their lives, or to fight to the end and be destroyed in battle. My dear truth seekers, against this backdrop, it is also worth noting the betrayal from the Ukrainian High Military Command. The fact is that the Ukrainian General Staff has never contacted its grouping in the KURSK region for the last 48 hours. This means that the Ukrainian and NATO generals have actually abandoned their soldiers, leaving them at the mercy of Russian troops. By the way, Western journalists from numerous American and European news channels have also started to actively comment on what is happening in the KURSK region. According to them, the Ukrainian army suffered a complete defeat in the KURSK region. At the same time, they added that it was the Pentagon's refusal to supply the Ukrainian army with intelligence that became the main reason for the breakthrough of Russian troops in Sudzha area. However, many military experts disagreed with these journalists' statements. According to them, the Ukrainian army's failure in the KURSK region became possible only thanks to the professional actions of the Russian troops and the work of numerous latest Russian electronic warfare systems. Thanks to these electronic warfare systems, the Russians could jam Western reconnaissance drones and signals from Starlink in the KURSK region. As a result, the Ukrainian troops not only lost their positions in the KURSK region, but also found themselves in an actual semicircle. In the last 24 hours alone, 30 Ukrainian soldiers and foreign mercenaries have voluntarily surrendered to the Russian army. At the same time, cases of mass surrender are observed throughout the KURSK region. Against this backdrop, many military experts expressed confidence that the Russian army would completely liberate the KURSK region within the next 10 days.